I think this is by far the biggest news in this entire vlog. I've said, I'm skeptical about matchmaker changes just because we don't actually have the information to make a informed decision about that. Maybe they'll get them, but something I know for a fact is the biggest injection of life into MWO in the past 5 years was the Civil War tech. That jump LFEs, the different type of weapons was absolutely fantastic, and it changed basically every single setup and loadout that people were bringing. It added new playstyles, combinations, you name it. The NGNG store is back up and operational, and even more so. We have new items like pint glasses, coffee mugs, tumblers, desk mats, and try blend t-shirts. For those that are looking for a new t-shirt, we have all of the old designs in solid line or full color. It's up to you. So head over there and check it out at nogutsnogalaxy.net. Make sure to get your desk mats and hoodies, whatever you need. We've got a solution for you. Hey, what's going on, guys? Phil here, and welcome to a dev vlog review. This is actually going to be quite unique because this is for 2023. Darren and Matt talk about the roadmap, their plans for 2023, some stuff that's coming up, soon, as far as January and February, and then stuff that they have planned throughout the year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and dive in here and basically give you my feedback. We're going to watch it together and sort of my thoughts on their plans for 2023. Obviously, this comes on the backside of having the podcast with Russ, where Russ stated that he was giving them some more resources. So without further ado, let's go ahead and drop right into the devlog for 2023 and see what Piranha Games has in plan for Mechwarrior Online.
Greetings, Mech Warriors. Welcome to 2023. I'm here with Darren, and we're going to share with you our plans for this year for Mechwarrior Online. Darren, Happy New Year. How are you doing?
Happy New Year to you. I am doing very well. Thank you very much. I'm still here, and I'm excited about what we're doing in 2023. What about you?
By the way, I don't know, there were people who were like, is Darren still at PGI? And then he was like, I'm still here. I'm like, was there a rumor that he wasn't there? Like, did I miss something? I don't know. I'm out of the loop, apparently.
I'm very excited. The new year has started off with a bang, obviously. If you haven't seen it yet, there's a big interview that Phil did with Russ, and Russ dropped a couple bombs on there. So we want to communicate to you our plans for 2023. So let's jump right in, Darren.
Let's do it.
Matchmaker. We know you guys are frustrated with the current Matchmaker setup. We need a solution to improve Matchmaker for the current population. You guys have cited weight class distribution, group distribution, skill distribution as the major issues, and so has the Cauldron. They brought it up to us several times last year. But the great thing is, we did this pitch to Russ in December, and we got a commitment of engineering time. And that engineering time is going to be starting work in February. I don't have any details of that plan to share with you guys right now because they have to absorb that information and figure out a plan to move forward. But we will be keeping you up to date with that, our decisions and direction.
So awesome. That's great to hear. We were just talking about this last week after I did the podcast. Matt and Darren actually hopped on I believe it was Tuesday. And this is great that they're having resources. Russ said he was. Obviously, they're getting resources and work is starting in February. How long that goes, we may not know. Sort of a hindsight. Whenever we use the term resources, that means people. So this means engineers. How many people and engineers who maybe they're already familiar, or at least they worked on MW in the past. So maybe they have to, retroactively learn a few things here or there, go back through the code or whatever. So improvements, weight class, groups, skill distribution. This is things that the Cauldron have talked about in the past. And for those that are wondering, one of the biggest issues is since Soup Q, which is solo and group, were merged, is that a lot of things weren't accounted for. Like I said, groups and skill. Now, I know Jay-Z, who is a part of the community. For those that don't know, he has proposed a secondary check system. He submitted that to PGI. What does a secondary check means? It basically means is when a match is found and you have player, team A, team B, that it then takes those players and adjusts who's on whose side, right? Now, all this is fantastic. I do have my concerns, or I should say, I do have my I have my concerns about overall what significance any changes are going to make. Now, hear me out. This is why. The Cauldron has been requesting how Matchmaker actually works behind the scenes for over a year now, and Darren and Matt weren't able to get them the information. I suspect that that's going to be the case now, that an engineer is going to start looking at what is all possible. Now, why do I have my concerns about Matchmaker? I think there's I think people misconstrue what a matchmaker is supposed to do, and they construe like, oh, well, if we had a good matchmaker, there wouldn't be any more 12-0 stomps. No, that's not the case. That's not how that works. The best case matchmaker says, hey, with these players, team A, team B, and if you have a secondary check system, these are the best combinations together to be as equal and fair at the very beginning of the match. But every action you take otherwise, whether that's someone's builds or whether I said, go left and we should have went right, everything has a domino effect and it can lead to still a 12-0 stomp. That doesn't go away. But I do have my concerns about, is the juice even worth the squeeze? Is it worth? And these are stats that PGI has to provide the Cauldron. And like I said, as of recording this, they still haven't done that, which is you need to look at the data. Will a matchmaker adjustment be as effective at right now in the game and the population as if the population was bigger? I'm not saying don't make adjustments. What I'm saying is, I think you need to set expectations. If they look and say, hey, just FYI, the majority of issues without having a secondary check system really only, and again, this is total speculation, only really impacts 5% of matches at the tier 1 level, then is it worth the time investment of making a bunch of changes when the juice isn't worth the squeeze? And this is where I'm skeptical of any matchmaker changes, because we don't have the information. If they release information, if they talk to the Cauldron, if they release information as far as this is how Matchmaker works currently, this is what the proposed changes, here's some analytics as far as the current matches in the past, like, I don't know, a quarter or whatever. Those are information and data that we just don't know. And to make informed decisions about Matchmaker, you need that information. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm skeptical about any changes being made that will have a significant impact on match quality, because we currently don't know the match quality as far as data points and if a change will really happen. Now, they don't really go into detail other than just, here's the matchmaker, this is what we'd like to do. I think they're on the, hey, we'd like to make changes, but again, I'm skeptical if there's going to be any large impact because of the solo and group queue combination. And as you can see, I've talked about this a lot. There's player choice and then there's balance. And what are you going to choose as PGI? What are you going to choose? Because, that's something we don't know. So anyways, more on this when more info comes out, but we need the data. We need to understand how currently Matchmaker works. We need to understand how much of an impact is it having on current matches. And I'm not saying don't make changes, guys. What I'm saying is I just don't know with the current game's population if any changes will have a big impact on matches. That's all. I'm skeptical about this. You should be too. It's not a silver bullet. I think we should have realistic expectations, and that is the job of Matt and Darren to say, hey, here's the data. This is what we can do, and go from there. So anyways, that's good that they're doing it. But again, I'm skeptical that there's going to be any real world impact. Just like PSR change, in my opinion, in my experience, there wasn't a whole lot of change with the PSR going to zero sum, because all it did is move people around from tier 1 down to 3. And you still need that tier 1 through 3 population in matches. That's all.
For that. Now, Darren, are you ready for the next slide? Because this next one's big.
This is a big one. I'm
Yeah,
very ready for it.
You take this slide.
My
all right?
body is ready.
You're ready.
2023, we have a new Mech pre-order on the way. It's another completely new Mech chassis. As you know, we introduced last year the Crusader and the Hatchet Man as new chassis into the game. Well, we got a new one coming.
Yeah.
I'm
And we're not
going
revealing it quite yet, are we?
but this is super exciting. It's going to be a new Mech coming this year. And so you can look for maybe some hints or some teasing coming soon. We're super excited about that.
Well, let's be honest, it'll probably take them about 5 minutes to guess it, Darren, after we release the vlog. The Crusader was a huge success last year. Shared resources and that kind of stuff has really been starting to work in our benefit for MWO and MW5. It was great. We're excited about adding another new full mech to MWO.
And I can say, as excited as I was for the Crusader, and I was, because that's an Inner mech and it's a unseen mech, I was very excited for the Crusader. I love the implementation of the Crusader in Mechwarrior Online. I'm even more excited for this new mech. But anyway, let's also talk about the Hatchet Man.
All right, let's dive in here. The only other mech that they've spoken outwardly about is the Stone Rhino, for those that don't know. You had the Stone Rhino as #1 clan choice and the Crusader as the second one. Here is the unique thing with this. I'm predicting that it's going to be the Stone Rhino. Darren, I'm calling you out on this because you're an Inner lackey at heart and a mercenary. You don't want the Stone Rhino, but I understand why you want the Stone Rhino, because deep down, you know clan tech's better. But regardless, my predictions is it's going to be the Stone Rhino. Where it's interesting here is, what does this mean for the new game that's coming out? Speculation, again, I'm calling it Mech 6 Clan Invasion, because what I think they're going to do is use the Stone Rhino. And again, this is pure speculation that they're going to release on MWO for this Mech 6 game that is going to be Clan Invasion. That's my prediction on this. How do I know? Well, the Stone Rhino, if they release it, which is, again, they've said the Stone Rhino was the #1 choice for the clan mech, and we got the Crusader, which was the #1 choice for the Inner Sphere. It's just, again, as they said 5 seconds in, I'm calling it now. Also, what's interesting with that, say, Phil, how would you know it's going to be in the new game? Well, because they're doing, and they're about to say, cross promotion and cross asset sharing for the products, which again makes sense. If you have it in Mech 5, you can bring it over here, just like the Hatchman and Crusader can go vice versa over there. Well, the Stone Rhino isn't being introduced in Mech 5 DLC 4, so there's that, and I suspect DLC 4 will be the last DLC we have for Mech 5. So let's continue on. That's my speculation hot take there. Stone Rhino, Mech 6, it'll also be there, and they can just cross-use assets.
Because there is a Hatchet Man update.
Yeah. So we also mentioned this when we were chatting with Phil, but we want to share it with everybody. You guys can look forward to, I guess, in January patch, cockpit items being added to the package. So that will be added retroactively to everybody. Plus, we're going to extend the early adopters deadline to at the February patch. And then we're going to add an early adopter bonus, which is a Platinum Hatchet Man and a Platinum skin unlock if you grab the Hatchet Man before the February patch date, which I think is like the 21st.
Yeah, and that is a good deal, folks. And when we say cockpit items, that is all 3 cockpit items. So you'll have a standing, a hanging, and a mounted cockpit item coming for the Hatchet Man. That'll be 60 days then, since we're extending the early adopters rewards, basically, where you can see that the Hatchet Man out there in action. You can see the cockpit items, you can hear the war horn, and you can decide for yourself if you want it. But I will say, Platinum Hatchet Man is going to be pretty darn sexy, just like all the Platinum mechs.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Well, obviously, that's cool. Retroactively, if you already have the Hatchman, you're going to get the cockpit items. I was actually taken aback a little bit, like, where's the war horn? I was just recently doing that when they came out, especially considering the previous war horn for, like, the Crusader, the Get Wrecked and stuff. And anyways, I really liked them. So that's cool. And, you know, obviously, I know the Platinum mechs has been a success for them, especially people wanting a hero mech in that particular variant and or chassis. So kudos. I'm glad it's happening.
The other thing is I'll extend the event where you can get additional rewards for purchasing the hatch. If you guys decide to pick up the Hatchet Man, or you've already picked up the Hatchet Man, some new content coming to you. So 2023 new maps. So let's talk about the level designer, man. He is killing it right now. He's been addressing some long-term issues complaints that players have had about maps. It's just amazing. A couple of the images on this screen showing some changes that are actually coming in the January patch.
Yeah, I can't express my happiness and excitement enough in terms of maps and map updates. When he first joined the team, he's just jumped right in the game and is mixing in really well with the community and the players and the Cauldron. And he just plays matches and listens to you guys talking, the players talking about, there's an invisible wall here or whatever defects there are in all of our current maps. He's taken notes when he's out there playing, and immediately upon hire went through and changed like 10 to 15 maps, little fixes, and he's lined up to have more fixes to more maps coming up. And
I do have to say, quick shout out to Krasman. If you guys didn't know, he's been doing fantastic work. That's who they're talking about. Francois is no longer with Piranha Games. Again, we wish him luck wherever he went in the world. But the new level designer has been actually doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and he has been popping on to my stream and posting stuff on Discord. The image is up in the top right here with the Canyon Network. I was actually going to do a video on this, and then the devlog was coming out, so I was like, I'll just see what they say here. But this is actually Death sort of Valley here, and obviously this turn here allows you to be able to hook up and swing around. But the big thing here is this back spot here. This is, of course, this is Sniper Hill back here. And I know this image is really hard to see. But I guess my point being is there's changes coming to a lot of the maps. For instance, Emerald Vale with those smokestacks in the center. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. The 4 smokestacks where you go to shoot because you see a mech, but then it hits the invisible wall. He's already fixed those. And they're going to go over here in a second how many maps he's already been, messing with. But what's nice is he's making adjustments to a lot of little details that, are, again, just quality of life. So, again, a quick shout out where it's due. Thank you again, man, for all the hard work, and look forward to seeing more of it.
In addition to a full new map, he's just constantly out there engaging, playing, and finding all the little things that need to be addressed on the maps. And that kind of proactive involvement is just super exciting. And yeah, I'm very, very happy with all the work that he's done so far. It's awesome.
So the new map comes in March, and along with that one, there's 4 new maps this year. There's an asterisk besides new because obviously, he's going to be working with existing assets, much like Francois did back in the day. But he is, the full new map in March, he is actually digging into creating a new terrain system first. So he's not basing it off of a faction play map, but future maps may have portions of other maps pulled in and stuff like that. But
think of like, fan favorite, Vitric Station, and Francois built that using already existing assets. So with some creativity and with good level design, we have the tools to make some really fun and exciting maps. So I'm really looking forward to what we have coming.
Yeah, me too.
Again, quite interesting that they're introducing a completely new map. One thing I would like to see them, especially Kraz, is like they introduced a new Terra Therma map that no one likes, and it's a horrible design. Me personally, I know a lot of people are like, maps are content, I want more and more maps. We actually have quite a bit of selection of maps, and my argument has always been, make the ones that you have enjoyable and playable. So like, for instance, the new Terra Therma Crucible, whatever the heck it is, it needs to be removed, remove incursion, stuff like that. And obviously Kraz is improving the maps that are there. I'm more of that mind, and of course they do, again, they talk about they showcase on this a devlog, all the maps being adjusted. It's quite a list there, just FYI. Or at least, no, it was in a tweet. Let me redact that. It was in a tweet they shared. There's like 10 or 12 maps that are being adjusted. How much adjusted, I don't know. But you did see in this little image here, Forest Colony. None of this was actually being adjusted. The playable area was actually south near the coast. What we don't know is, did he change the spawn locations on that so that that would better reflect, So anyways, just want to toss that out there. Obviously, 4 new maps, that's always awesome. And with the freedom to be able to create a new texture, if you will, biome. So that's cool. That's cool.
So this next one's a big one. This is something we've discussed internally, and we're really looking for you guys' feedback on this. We talked about last year when we removed the Solaris 7 mode from the game, and we added the event queue. We added the the new skill tree. That was somewhere around middle of the year, June, July. We wanted to rebrand because we didn't have Solaris 7 as a key mode in the game anymore, and we talked about it internally, and we're like, okay, well, we can just drop Solaris 7 from the name, so it'd just be going back to Mechwarrior Online. And then we're kind of like, well, what does that do, right? That doesn't move the game forward. And so we've done quite a bit of workshopping and discussing internally, and we're tentatively excited to announce what our goal is for this rebrand and our working title, our current choice of title. But we want your guys' feedback. So the idea is we're going to rebrand to Mechwarrior Online Legends. And now this is not final art at all. This is just me mocking something up in Photoshop. But we've already pitched this idea internally. We've certainly had a lot of debate internally. And I think when we go into what the actual content strategy is around the rebrand, you'll get to understand why we chose this name. But we want you to know we're open to your feedback. So let's move into what the content strategy is, and then
Absolutely.
So obviously my initial impressions on this is we knew something was coming down the line. I've sort of said a multitude of times with your game being branded Solaris and then you not having Solaris game mode as a thing, they're finally getting to it. So obviously we're coming to an end of an era, if you will, even though the era happened like last July, I think, with the removal of the game mode. That being said, they are doing Solaris events, so there is that still. So you'll be able to get your action and then you private servers and all that. But as far as my initial thoughts here, Legends, it sort of struck me as like, okay, where are you going with this as far as the revival, if you will. I was expecting a little bit more of that. This seems to be more branded towards their strategy for sales as well. So, and that's what we're about to dive into. It doesn't bother me. I know some people are going to make the connection Mechwarrior Living Legends. This is more of the Legends as far as the and you'll see here a sales term for mechs themselves, not necessarily any reference to that. So let's go and see what they say here.
it'll make more sense. So what is Mechwarrior Online Legends? So the idea is that Mechwarrior Online Legends is going to be a monthly legendary mech using existing chassis. Mini battle pass that comes with your purchase, themed sales and events around that legend. So what's a legendary mech? Well, it's kind of like this next evolution. Got standard mechs in the game, got champion mechs in the game with an XP boost and a pre-configured loadout, which is basically a standard mech. And then we've got hero mechs that come with like a 30% C-bill boost, a stock loadout, and a special skin. A legend kind of blends all of those ideas together, and it is a new variant, has a special skin, pre-configured loadout, and some other items. But again, we're open to your guys' feedback. This is currently the name that we have that we feel is best. It makes sense within the context of like going from a standard champion and hero and then legendary mech. We discussed names like mythic as well. But we feel like this one actually best fits the lore and the titling of.
Obviously, so there we go. This sort of ties into the idea of Mechwarrior Online Legends, where the idea is that like you have your standard, run of the mill, everybody uses it in the militaries of the inner sphere. You have your champion, you have your heroes, and then legends. As far as someone points out, maybe you have to have died to become a legend. I can see where they're going. Obviously, we have monthly legendary mech using existing chassis. What does this mean to me? That basically means is it's going to be no new artwork per se. It's going to, I think they're going to include, and they'll go into it in a second. Mini battle pass. That's interesting. We've talked about if there was ever to be a secondary game. Obviously, a battle pass is sort of a standard thing nowadays. And then theme sells around events with the legend. My initial thoughts here is now it makes sense, the name they were going, Legends, obviously, concerns with, pay to win. We've had a lot of mechs in the past. But what's unique here is what we're about to see, which is they're going to dive into how is a legend going to be made here. So initial results is like, okay, I can see where we're going. Still have questions about Battle Pass. Obviously, the implementation of in-game, how is that going to work? They're not redoing the entire economy of the game into a new Battle Pass system. Looks like it's just for this.
Right now.
That's right. But for obvious reasons, we totally are open to feedback. Let's hear what you think about it. Again, just want to hit on that's not final artwork. If we decide to move forward, if we decide to move forward, obviously we'll put more work into that. But I think the reasoning behind picking the name makes sense. The question is it the best one, and is it the correct one to move forward with? So let's hear what you guys think about that. And I'm excited for the package. I'm excited for what we're doing with it. And I also think it's the best name in terms of what we're doing.
So what is a legendary?
All right. So we'll go ahead and roll into this too and sort of go back to this. You may be asking yourself, why are they doing this? Well, the first thing is if they go along this route, that allows them to create new mechs outside of just hero mechs. And they don't have to create new assets. So that's a big thing. For those that don't know, again, they don't have a 3D artist, a mech artist, or at least not for MWO. I mean, obviously Mech 5 and this new project do, but not MWO. I think Russ did say they're looking at onboarding someone with that. So maybe that changed again with the new mech that's coming in 2023. But why are they doing that? This allows them to create a new revenue stream. And that's something important considering going back to that podcast, and we'll reference it a lot, is that the juice has to be worth the squeeze, if you will. Obviously, they can't do a new complete multiple chassis, but what they can do is they can come out with a new legendary mech every single month and have events based off that legendary sale, and which means a new revenue stream. Now, what's interesting here is, where does the loadout come from? They're going to be obviously going into detail here. And it's going to be quite interesting because, again, MWO, I think, has done if I'm objectively looking at it, MWO has done a very good job of staying away from pay to win. We don't have any weird ammo that you can only buy with real world money. Now, as far as mechs, there has been some timelines where some mechs, looking at the, Victor, Dragon Slayer, looking at some of the clan mechs when they first came out, Death Strike, that were dominant for quite some time. But I think the positive spin here has been the Cauldron being involved potentially with the loadouts and keeping them in check as far as power. So let's go and see what is a legendary mech and mini battle pass, because I'm really intrigued with that one.
Legendary mech and mini battle pass. So the legendary mech takes existing chassis but added a new variant with new hard points. Pre-built loadout designed by the Cauldron. And the idea is to have an outlier quirk. So give this mech something that makes it really special and legendary on the battlefield. We're going for an LGD designation, so it's not bracket L, not bracket P, or bracket S. It's going to have a custom paint job and have a 30% C-bill boost. I want to see if we can add some additional boost to it. What else is included in the pack? There'll be a mech, obviously the mech bay, a title, a badge, a decal, cockpit items. And then it's going to come with a battle pass. The battle pass is going to be based on your legendary mech's XP progression. So as you use this mech, you're going to unlock content. It's going to be engines, consumables, GSP, C-bills, MC, chassis patterns, bolt-ons, cockpit items, and possible other unlocks like new decals and new custom colors.
So there we have our first explanation. Obviously, pre-built loadout from the Cauldron. Again, I feel pretty confident in knowing that they're going to do a good job as far as balance. New outlier quirk. So this could be fun. This could be interesting. I think some people were jumping to the conclusion that it will be some type of pay to win as far as like make it really strong. I think the Cauldron will have a directive of we want these mechs to be strong but not overpowered. Let's just be fair here. This is a monetization model. You don't have to buy it, but what they want to do is they want to incentivize us, the players, to purchase to keep the lights on and things moving forward. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. If you look at the Crusader actually did pretty well. The 6T is still one of the strongest heavies in the game, especially with the amount of hard points. And as you can see, the amount of hard points that we got on the Crusader, one of the most ballistic slots on a mech in general, especially on a IS mech, most energy slots. Of course, the Hatchman wasn't really, I think it was just a crossover for Mech 5. But as far as outlier quirk, custom paint job, that's always cool. I like custom paint jobs. C-Build boost, obviously you sort of expect that, and then you've got this battle pass. Now it's interesting, basically, I'm wondering if it's going to be tracking with the event queue. Like that's how, I would assume they're not going to have completely new UI in the game. I think you'll have an event and it'll be an ongoing, and they talk about this in a little bit, but you'll be able to unlock a bunch of stuff. I hope it's in game and you don't have to go necessarily to the website, because that's super annoying that you have to do that. So far, interesting. I see where they're going. Chassis pattern, bolt-on, cockpit item, possibly other unlocks, new content, new decals, new custom colors. One thing I would like to point out to them, which I've always wanted to see, and maybe they can do it, is get rid of the specular layer on the no more glossy camo patterns. That would be cool. So if you're listening to this, Matt and Darren, some just matte, less specular maps, and stuff like that. Just tossing them out there. Engine, what they're talking about, for those that are wondering, is literally just engines like XL 375 or whatever. I think they literally just imagine it sort of like on some of the stuff where like loot bag events. I'm assuming it's going to be like sort of loot bag or their current, something like that. We'll have to sort of get clarification. But anyways, pretty standard here. Like I said, there are concerns as far as power creep, but I think we're sort of past that to some point. You do want these legendaries attractive enough to where you're like, oh yeah, I want to drop, the price on them. I'm gonna spend some money, but you don't want them to where they just dominate everything out there. Good news, I do trust the Cauldron in doing that. I'm just wondering, maybe do they have a directive of, yeah, it's a little bit strong. Go ahead. I don't know. I mean, do we care at this point? I don't know.
One of the key things about this that I feel is really important is that we're going to launch on Steam at the same time. So when the legendary mech becomes available in the patch in game, it will be available on Steam at the same time. So if you make your purchases on Steam, you'll be able to go there and get regional pricing and then participate in the battle pass that way. So you won't have to go necessarily and buy it for US dollars on the MWO site. That is the strategy for new content. So that would be around 10 new variants with battle passes and the new mech this year for mech content.
So just to be clear, when you purchase the mech, then that's purchasing the battle pass. So it's not going to be a separate thing. You purchase a mech, you then have a month's worth of content. Actually, how long is that going to last? Is it going to just be month?
I don't want it to go away personally. It's okay. Like when the mechs go up for sale. I don't like the idea that battle passes come and go in other games. I mean, that's fine if it's a seasonal battle pass, but right. To me, buying the legendary mech is special. The mini battle pass is a part of that package when you purchase it. And we really want to have a good value price on this where
absolutely
you decide to buy it and you get to enjoy the battle pass at your leisure. It doesn't go away. There's no time crunch. I know we've got plenty of events and stuff in this game where it's like, if you don't start soon enough, like if it's a free mech or if it's the loot bags, people are always asking for extensions because they've got real life things to do. Sure. Personally, my opinion is the legendary mech and the mini battle pass, it's all one thing. You buy it, you enjoy your battle pass at your own pace.
So that sort of confirms what I thought, which was probably using the event queue system. The only critique I would have on that is we do have quite a bit of events right now, and some are going to be even ongoing. Let's just say you get one of each month, and you get however many legendary mechs plus the normal stuff. One thing I would like to see, Matt and Darren, is on the UI when you pull up the event stuff is your active tasks. Even if you've completed one, you have no idea. You got to click each one. It would be nice having something in there indicating like this, whatever it is complete. Like, if I pull up and I forgot, like, did I finish like that would be nice. Just sort of seeing that. Overall, like I said, I can see where they're going legendary. The battle pass thing, you can finish it at your own leisure. That is nice. They say battle pass, but really it's it's a semi battle pass system. I see where they're trying to go. It'll work for MWO, but generally speaking, I mean, battle pass, when you look at any other game out there, a modern game, there's a reason for that. Of course, it's called FOMO, fear of missing out. Like, I got to put in time. Obviously, you can sort of see here, they're not going that route of FOMO, that you're able to just basically do it at your own time. They know where they're at as far as their product and their player base. So no FOMO here. I definitely suspect if we had a new game, you would have that newer sort of system where you would have FOMO. So, you know, there's that added pressure. So, all right, let's go ahead and jump on.
So that's
cool. So no fear of missing out on these.
See what he did there?
I think it's going to be a really fun and exciting new addition to Mechwarrior Online. So let us know what you think.
Yeah,
I'm super excited about it.
I forgot what slide is next.
Well, let's just jump in and see the Men in Black.
The Cauldron. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah,
This
so
is
obviously,
important.
oh yeah, it is important.
This is very
I don't think we would be able to pull off without the Cauldron. So a huge thank you, Cauldron. We shared our strategy around the rebrand and the legendary mech system, and they've jumped in and given us ideas. I think initially I said there was going to be a stock loadout, and they're like, no, let's do a tuned loadout, right?
Yeah.
So they're excited to dig in. They've sent us about 10 different ideas for new legendary mechs, and in fact, you guys should send your ideas to us about what new legendary mechs you'd want to see. I think, Darren, you could probably start a forum thread, but let's design some legendary mechs.
Yep.
And so we're going to continue to work with the Cauldron. They're a huge asset to the team. Great contributors. We're going to continue to do mech stat and quirk changes, skill tree changes. We've got a whole bunch of those coming in the January patch. Weapon balance changes, equipment changes, new champions and trials over the course of the year. And then another really cool thing, which is a decal and badge update I want to share with you guys. It's a small thing, but it's, I think, a good thing. They have up-resed or taken the existing badges, in-game badges, and sent a version where they're actually up-resed and done the tests on it and shown that, yeah, it actually looks much better in-game with the up-res decals, or sorry, badges. So we're going to be implementing those in the game, I believe probably around the time of March. As well, one of the things I want to do is the decals. I want to take every badge from every previous package and then convert it into a decal and retroactively give it to people who own that package.
So a huge amount of appreciation and thank you to all of the members of the Cauldron.
And there's another thing that we want to do. We want to add new weapons to the game.
Obviously, hold up. Let's back up here a slide. That's cool. I mean, we'll get there in a second. Let me go to talk about here. First off, again, for those that don't know, the Cauldron is a community group of community members. They're not under NDA, by the way. They can't talk open and freely, but it's a group that of all mixed skill players that help PGI with bouncing behind. So they've been active for well over a year now and doing all these changes. Again, all the patch notes, adjustments, quirks, anything that's been going on as far as balance of the game has been the Cauldron. That is not Matt and Darren. That is the Cauldron. So again, quick shout out to them. Again, I may not always agree with the changes and stuff like but I appreciate the effort. And the game right now, and I'll say this, and I said it, is in the best state it's probably been ever in the balance of the game. So there is that. Could be better. Sure, everything could always be better. Could mech balance that? Sure. The new champion and trials, that's cool. One thing I will point to Darren and Matt is I still think it's imperative somehow, and I think this is really important, that if someone is using a trial mech, that it gets pre-skilled out by the Cauldron, that they have all 91 nodes active and locked in. They can't change it, just like the mech lab. That needs to happen. It is so important that new players come into the game, and it hasn't been like that since the beginning of the game, and that needs to be improved. So please use the resources. Ask them for, you already have the loadouts from them, ask them for the skill tree, have it locked in. New players coming into the game need that extra bonus. Again, you're working with like a quarter of your mech, just the optimization not being there. So if you can make that happen, that'd be awesome. And let's go ahead and roll into the next part here. Overall, this is great. I mean, again, I can't say enough skill tree changes. They've been tweaking here or there. Skill tree is in a phenomenal place, especially compared to a year plus ago. Skill tree is in a great place. So let's keep up adjustments on those, incentivizing some nodes being taken over others. And that's always a good thing.
Thank you to all of the members of the Cauldron.
And there's another thing that we want to do. We want to add new weapons to the game. The Cauldron has requested to add new weapons. I will say this does need some investigation. As designed, they may not have new 3D models, so they may have fallback models. So if it's a ballistic, it may fall back to like a Ultra AC5 type of model. New weapons
They've had
coming
some
this
good
year.
ideas.
Yep.
I think this is by far the biggest news in this entire vlog. I've said, I'm skeptical about Matchmaker changes just because we don't actually have the information to make a informed decision about that. Maybe they'll get them, but something I know for a fact is the biggest injection of life into MWO in the past 5 years was the Civil War tech. That jump LFEs, the different type of weapons was absolutely fantastic. And it changed basically every single setup and loadout that people were bringing. It added new play styles, combinations, you name it. And I've said this before so many times, new weapons if they did a tech jump. Now, it doesn't look like they're doing a tech jump here, but maybe they work around and just say, hey, let's introduce different racks, rack 10, rack 20, or heavy assault gas, or, different types of, X-pulse lasers. They can reuse, 3D assets. I don't care if it looks the same on a mech. I really don't. At this point in time, new tech, new weapons, and if it uses the same effect, that's fine. I'm totally okay with that. But by far, the biggest news in this entire vlog is this right here. I would love it, of course, if they could snap their fingers and do a tech jump, and introduce IS Omnis and so forth. I think there's a lot of money to be made there for them if they did that. That's not, looks like it's on the table. But as far as renewed life into MWO, I do think a tech jump like this, introducing new weapons, will bring people back to experiment and see where things are going. And then if it's on top of Matchmaker changes actually happen, that's a bonus. So now you've got new weapons, new tech, new combos, and Matchmaker may be better and with a bigger population. I think this is absolutely fantastic. And like I said, yes, in a perfect world, I would love the weapons to look different, but it doesn't really matter at this point in time, especially in the product's life. So that is fantastic, and I want to know more.
Yeah, they've already offered some pretty decent ideas, so I think this is pretty realistic. Obviously, like you said, it needs some investigation still, but the idea of adding some new weapons moving forward a little bit in the timeline and technology would be awesome. Faction play. So we brought this up. It's been brought up a few times. Towards the end of next week, I'm thinking I'm going to start a thread. Let's talk about faction play. There's a few of them that will be coming out. Let's talk about faction play, let's talk about event queue, and let's talk about legendary mech. So there'll be some threads starting for some conversation with you guys, but basically in terms of faction play, we will be having a conversation with you, with the Cauldron, and looking at possible fixes and solutions, obviously starting with some low-hanging fruit. What can we do to improve the gameplay experience in faction play? Look for some bigger solutions, and if it's something that we're able to do. So I know that there's a lot of you out there that are still playing it, still enjoy it, still love it. So let's talk about it. What can we do?
All right, let's talk about faction play. Obviously, I talked about this last week while I was streaming. I'm not the best person to ask about current faction play and or the population therein. I can tell you, though, I've never really enjoyed faction play, and specifically, I never really enjoyed siege mode in its current implementation. Now, when I did ask about this last week, I asked, like Naveed and stuff, what do you enjoy about faction play? And one of the things was a bigger group to be able to drop in, and conquest game mode with basically, drop decks. And that seems to be a popular theme. Now, I may be incorrect here. Maybe there's other people that do enjoy siege mode. I think siege mode just could have been a lot better and didn't have to always be Corridor Warrior online. And so at this point in time, at this point in Mechwarrior Online's being, I should say, is like, is the resources worth dropping into faction play? Notice he didn't commit to anything. They just said to have open discussions. We've had discussions for years. So my point of view is, how about utilize the systems are there, really condense it into what people really enjoy. And if people are really enjoying just bigger teams up to 12 mans or whatever it is, and conquest and respawns, then why don't you just look at that, come up with some solution? I guess what I'm saying here is I have my concerns, because I feel like anything you do to faction play, there may be low-hanging fruit. And again, I'm not the expert here. And for those that do play faction play, I'm speaking out of turn. But if the majority of your player base plays quick play, and I, for instance, myself, want to get involved with faction play, I've just never enjoyed that. I'd be willing to dive in if it gets adjustments and changes. It's just one of those things. I just feel like the overall, it's just too big and grandiose. It was a failure from the start. It was an idea that just never came to fruition. And I think it's just one of those things where, like, I think we just have to be realistic. I know people are like, oh, you can do this or that. It's just, they don't have the resources to be able to do it. They're only committing to a discussion here. I don't know what changes could be made with what's there. I know people are like, oh, well, introduce scouting and this and that. I think it's way too big of an ask for a game mode that never really came to its full potential. So I guess I'll say this. I'm hesitant to see any resources go into faction play, and I know that's probably not what you want to hear. And again, I'm not the gatekeeper. This is just an opinion and you're listening to it. If resources are going to be put into it, I'd rather it be put into why are people playing, and then really focus on that. Condense it down into what you like. The whole idea of it being like NBT, net Battletech, where you've got resources and logistics and this faction's going up against this faction, all that stuff that it was originally supposed to be. It's not that. It will never be that. And, it's not going to be that. So I guess what you do is you focus on the core. Now, what would be cool is if, people did like siege mode, and maybe the new map designer could create a better map for it, and that might change my mind. But I'm just hesitant about faction play. I'm personally glad they're not committing resources towards it, because I do think it's one of those where, and if you play it again, I think you'll understand it's a big hurdle in the amount of resources to make it into whatever. How do you attract players? And that's one thing that you need to be, I think you could just leave it. I'm not saying take it out. I'm just saying, like, I know the people that play it are very committed to it. It's just, how are you going to attract new players? Maybe you get rid of all the extra stuff and you condense it down to basically it's a group queue. I don't know. But that's just, yeah, we're going to move on here.
If it's something that we're able to do. So I know that there's a lot of you out there that are still playing it, still.
Stuff that I've been working on with the web design team. You guys asked for it. We heard you, and we're going to implement this. So the Platinum Custom Collection. Players have expressed that they want to create their own custom Platinum Collection. So what we're going to do in January is we're going to be adding 10 new IS Platinum mechs in January, and then we're going to make it so you can choose a custom collection in both Inner Sphere or Clans, and then purchase it for $20. There'll be 10 more IS Platinum mechs added in February as well.
No, I was going to say, I've had a lot of you message me saying, I like this mech in this pack, and I like this mech in this pack. Can you please make it so we can choose our variants, and then I will be purchasing Platinum mech. So I'm very happy that we're able to provide that to you for those of you that asked.
Okay, I mean, generally speaking, cool. I think the Platinum mechs have value, especially if maybe you love a specific variant, or you like a specific mech or something like that, whether it's a Cicada or Mark II, Bravo, or something like that. I think it's been good value. And at the end of the day, you don't have to buy it if you don't want it, but it does add value to gaining basically a hero mech C-bill wise for it. So kudos, keep it up. I think, Platinum itself, you can, apply a color to it and make it look gold too if you want. You can do that.
The idea is that if you look at the history of all the pre-order packages and all the packages that we put into the store, obviously if you look at the history of all the pre-order packages and all the packages that we put into the store. Obviously, we had Founders and Phoenix that went away, and then we had Clans as probably the largest collection that ever existed. The Urban Mech was the first mech pre-order where we did an individual mech. So the idea is that we're going to start retiring older, larger bundles like the Clans pack, and then replacing it with individual packs of those mechs. You take the Direwolf and you break it out into its own package. There's a lot of packs there, and as well, we've got a lot of mechs that we put out that were never in a package, like the Mando, Dragon, Awesome, all those mechs. We want to give them their own individual pack. This is something that's going to happen over the course of the whole year, so it's not something where like everything's going to go away and everything's going to be added right away. It's a lot of incremental work, and the team's going to be probably taking, if not the whole year, but longer to do it. But what we will do is we will let you know when those packs are going to go away. So if it's the Clans one is the first one that's going to disappear, we'll have a retirement party for it, and we'll do mech pack sales and that kind of thing. So it's time to kind of modernize the store a little bit. So we haven't fully designed that. The first thing will be changing the Platinum mechs out into like a custom collection, and then after that we're going to tackle this along with the rebrand. So
all right, now what's interesting there, I think obviously the store has been needing an overhaul forever. Actually, I think a lot needs overhauled in game and out. I would agree with them. It needs UI and of course behind the scenes. The only thing is with that is like mechs and value. Like you can buy all those mechs with just in-game C bills, and that's where the convenience factor. So I think they would have to price it like if they mentioned the commando or whatever, would you offer a commando pack that also has the hero, and then it's a little bit more, but then you get everything, and then they would have to have like GSP in it so you could like skill out your mechs and stuff. It would really have to be a time-saving thing, and that's where I could see them maybe going is like, hey, here's the I don't know, 5 variants plus the hero plus the legendary of a mech, and whereas the legendary, let's just say, is $20. Again, I'm just speculating here, but you can buy everything for 30 or something like that, and then you get GSP. Maybe it's that. So it's just one of those where like at the time where the game is, like what is the incentive for me to spend any real life money on mechs that I can just buy with C bills? I think it really just comes down, it's the convenience of it, like being able. Also, if you already have the mechs, what incentive is there for you to buy? So I feel like they have to have this, they have to have the packages probably combined with your standard, your hero, maybe even special variants, and this future legend setup like that. Because outside of that, if I already own it and stuff, why would I buy them more or whatever? The only thing I can see is like, again, combos, and then they have GSP and stuff to where it helps you level them instantly, so you don't have to worry about that. So that's fine. I mean, it's one of those stuff like that in the Platinum. It's just monetization for the game. You don't have to do it. You don't have to, want it or whatever. But obviously they're updating it, so people do. There just has to be value there.
And you take this slide, Darren.
First of all, more consistent event queue events. We were doing a lot of experimentation and discovery process basically with event queue in 2022. What's working, what wasn't working, were there things that we could fix? Got some great suggestions for event queues from players and streamers. So like I mentioned earlier, we will be doing a thread. Let's talk about event queue. I want to hear the things that you guys like, more specifically the things that you don't like, and open it up to some suggestions, because some of our best events actually were suggestions by players. The point is we're going to be more consistent in event queue this year, so that number one, you have more heads up that it's coming. You can prepare, for example, drop decks for event queue. Obviously, builds for event queue are different than builds for, or can be different than builds for faction play and for quick play. There will be, of course, we're continuing the monthly free mechs. Everybody's been enjoying that. You can add more mechs to your collection free every single month. Loot bag events. Everybody loves the loot bag events, so we're going to continue those. Of course, we have the Lucky Charms Beach Party Trick or Treat and the Stocking Stuffers that we just ended.
I do want to say I am going to refresh the prizes in there. I kept it pretty consistent last year. But I think it's time for a refresh.
But yeah, the loot bag events, always popular, not going away.
Double XP events, boosted
Yeah.
hero events.
Right.
Yeah,
If I could just chime in here, more events are great. If we knew ahead of time, that's even better. One thing is, usually events only happen over the weekend too, so that's something to keep in mind. Which is, outside of the weekend, loot bag events. For the love of God, you get a bonus and you have a collect all. For those that don't know, loot bag events, you have your in-game event thing that's you've got a few items that you can redeem. Well, you have literally hundreds of clicks that you have to do on their website. It's very difficult to find if you don't know where you're talking about. And if you don't even know what I'm talking about, you get free loot during the loot bag events. I just wish it was automated. I just wish it would automatically redeem and the players somehow, I don't know how, this has always been a pet peeve of mine. It should just be, hey, you do the matches and as they unlock, they just pop up for you. And I just wish it was like that, or some type of in-game UI system that you could then redeem instead of having to go to the website. And again, I speak from experience. Many a years I didn't even know you had to go to the website to redeem. I just was like, the loot bag event, I'm not getting anything. I don't understand it. So again, it's just one of those things where if we could just some time there spent, I don't know if it's possible, but it could help out new players too. Because if new players don't know they have to go to the forums, log into the forums, click certain links, go to the loot bag, redeem each individual, and refresh every single time. Oh, and then you get to the second half and you got to refresh, click the tab every single time, then go down. It's super, super annoying that you don't have just a redeem all. You do for the bonus ones, and the bonus ones, for those that don't know, you do have a redeem all, but it's at the bottom for the extra like 50 loot bags you get for purchasing like the mech pack. If they could just apply that to the top or just have it in game, something for just the love of God, that needs to be streamlined. So Matt, Darren, thank you. You need, please do it. All right, that's it.
idea being
continue those.
Yeah, we're going to continue those. Probably keeping them quarterly. And then annual rewards program will be back this year.
There's a lot of shiny mechs out there right now because of our annual rewards program. A lot of people get a lot of exciting content every year, so we're going to continue that.
I do want to make sure that we get some new variants in this year. The annual rewards program has traditionally been about adding new variants to the game.
Man, they're always way more on top of it than I am. But these guys have already lined up the year 2023 with all of the comp events. Basically, we had record-breaking participation this year. It was very exciting. I always enjoy these tournaments, and we will be doing it again in 2023. They've already said they want to do it. Obviously, we want to do it. And there will be another supporter pack. The supporter pack had 2 tiers this year, record-breaking support for the tournament. So they had a nice prize package, just a lot of fun. It's always fun to see how many of you are out there that love the comp scene as well. And a big thank you to MWO Comp for all the work that they do. Similar to the Cauldron, there's just so much work behind the scenes to do these types of things that these groups bring to the player base. And it's very significant. And part of what I love about this community is the passion that's out there and how much work people will put into these types of things, above and beyond their already hugely busy schedule. So everybody involved in MWO Comp, thank you very much. All the hard work you guys are doing is very appreciated.
Yeah, so I wanted to show you guys the patch dates. January 24th is the next patch coming up. We've got a patch plan for every month. And you can kind of see here a peek behind the curtain. We've got the patch notes date up there. We've got our 0 bugs date, and we've got our work due date. So when it comes to the patch that comes out on the 24th, the work that needs to go into that is actually due on January 6th. And we have to hit 0 bugs by the 13th. This is how many patches we put out in a year. These are the dates we work to. You guys can, take at least the patch days to the bank and know that we've got another full year of patches coming out.
This is actually a really cool thing to showcase. And for those that don't know, this is one of the things that behind the scenes, right? If you have a product that has monthly patches, when do you have to have that information, in and submitted? And as you can see here, looking at like October, the work due date is the 6th. they only have to the 13th, and then the patch notes go on the 20, and then you have the 25th. What does this mean? Basically, it means is things are always happening very, very quickly. This is one of the things I ran into back in the day doing like quirks and stuff, where if you have a certain submission date, but also if you make a bug or something like that, that's where it can be, like really, really annoying to have to like fix. So this is sort of a cool thing because it gives you a little bit of insight to basically behind the scenes and when they have to hit certain milestones and have stuff in schedule releases schedule. So usually like by the time a patch comes out, like, okay, so the patch just came out on the 24th, you can see where you'd want stuff already due on the 3rd of February. It's like a 2-week window basically, and it's not a very, very far, so for instance, what I'm trying to get out, let's just say the Cauldron makes a balance change, or let's just say last March when there was a change to PPCs and it didn't go well, you only have like a week or two window to like a week really to get a understanding of what is that doing in your game before, if you are going to make any changes, you need to make those so quickly for it to be in the next patch. I guess that's what I'm saying, is like they have a very quick turnaround. That's why sometimes too is it's better just to like leave it for a month or two unless it's like absolutely broke. So, and that's where you can also assume where if a hot fix has to go in, it's super annoying. But anyways.
And
so if you've heard us throwing around the word pipeline and development pipeline and so forth, this kind of gives you a little bit more insight into what we're talking about there. We're always working significantly ahead of where we're at and what you see.
And Darren, let's get into our final thoughts.
Final thoughts by Matt and Darren. Yeah, so Mechwarrior 5. Obviously, here we are doing the devlog for MWO, as we said we would do this week. Yes, it's Friday. I understand that, but it's still this week. We're getting it out. And today also, fingers crossed, I will be getting out a blog post regarding DLC 4 for Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries, Rise of Rosselhog, which ships January 26th. It's going to be a blog post kind of breaking down the details of the free update that comes with the new DLC. So it's just getting into more detail, explaining a little bit more about what's coming in that free update. So that should be out today or Monday at the latest. I'm going to say today though. Also, one of the big bombs that Russ did drop on the No Guts No Galaxy podcast is that we have a new Mechwarrior project in the works. Now this is PvE/co-op, more in line with what has been done with Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries. Not getting into any more detail than that. This is a very exciting project. He also did touch a little bit on...
Again, just from earlier speculation, I'm calling it Mechwarrior 6 Clan Invasion, and it's also going to have the Stone Rhino that they're going to introduce in MWO as the next mech. I'm just going off of what they've said in the past. There's that.
On the potential for the next Mechwarrior PvP game. So there's definitely no details about that. But we do want to talk to you about it. What would you like to see in an iteration, the next Mechwarrior PvP game? And I've heard a lot of discussion out there in the community, wish lists and desires, wants, needs of a new Mechwarrior PvP game. So let's talk about it.
I think what's interesting is like you and I have had these discussions so many times, right? So many times, but we haven't been able to have them in the community. I feel like Russ kind of cracked the door open for us to start talking to them about it and asking them what is it they want to see. Like what to me, what would be the perfect end result to this is that we start putting that energy out there, start collecting ideas, start building on those ideas of finding a way to make that project happen. As much as Mechwarrior Online evolved over the years, it didn't get to evolve its business model like that. And I think that that's partially where I'm trying to push things with the Legends rebrand and these these little mini battle passes that would come with those mechs. And I think that, with the community, if we reach out there and figure out what is the next Mechwarrior PvP game look like and how would that business model work, and how would the game modes work and what do they want to see. Like, I think that we can kind of like build it together.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And hearing what you guys out there have in your minds in terms of what would be fun and the next great thing is going to be exciting. You mentioned 12 years. We're actually coming up on the 10-year anniversary, I think, of it being live, Mechwarrior Online. We're coming up on the 40-year anniversary of the BattleTech Mechwarrior franchise in general, which means I've been playing this game for 40 years, Matt. And so the idea of being able to continue this with the next Mechwarrior PvE project, with the potential for the next Mechwarrior PvP project, and continuing to work with you, continuing to work with you guys, the community, and be a part of this community is just an extension of my dream come true life. So I'm very excited about what we have coming this year. I'm very excited about what we have coming beyond this year, and just super grateful for being a part of this. So I want to say thank you, Matt. I'm glad we sat down and did this. It was a wonderful year working with you last year. I look forward to working with you this year. Thank you, the community, the Cauldron, MWO Comp. Love you guys, and can't wait to start doing all this.
Yeah, me too. Let's sign off.
Awkward sign off. Anyways, all right, let's go dive into this. Rise of Rossalhog, obviously a DLC 4 coming out January 26th. I'll be checking it out. I know a lot of people have been asking me about my thoughts on it. It's going to be the same answer. I don't really have high expectations or anticipation. It's probably going to be a lot like the last one. It was very lackluster, just being open and honest. Next PvE project. Again, we've been saying Mechwarrior 6 Clan Invasion. That was actually pretty big news. Someone asked me if I knew Russ was going to bring it up, and the answer was no. I'm actually very grateful that he did on a podcast that's been shared like in every single gaming website that covers gaming news. So that's cool. I think it's one of the most listened to podcasts with like 10K plus views. I think it might be over 11 or 12 now. So that's dope. So thank you with that. Next Mechwarrior PvP. I think one important thing here is not saying don't have hope or whatever, but it's like, like they haven't committed to anything. So they're just words and ideas right now. Like, and, we can sit around and talk about it. But, as far as the conversation, I think it is actually really important to have a clear understanding that if we are to get a MWO successor, Mechwarrior Online successor, it would be different. It'd be a different marketing model, monetization model. And that's actually a good thing for, I think, the player base. But also keep in mind sort of what Russ was saying, which is, as he calls it, the niche community. There's changes that have to happen. Mechwarrior Online is great for what it is. As we sort of coined it, it's a Mech 3-4 successor with a World of Tanks monetization model on top. I think if you were to want to branch and reach a new audience, and maybe even attract new players, obviously you need to update some game mechanics and gameplay, and that's the million-dollar question, if you will, is what does that look like and how? Do you stray too far from BattleTech, and what does a Mechwarrior title make? Those are actually really good questions, and I challenge all of you guys out to sort of maybe think outside the box. This is obviously discussions that are going to be happening. They're obviously already happening to PGI internally. The one thing, though, is there's no guarantee that it will happen or is happening. It's just more of just a conversation piece. So overall, as far as the 2023 roadmap, let's just call it a roadmap, we have Matchmaker. Again, I'm skeptical about that. We need more information. And again, I want to make it very clear. I'm skeptical. I'm not being negative here. It's not that I don't want it to happen. It's just I'm skeptical if any changes right now will actually make a difference in our matches. But I'm open to it, as well. Obviously, new mech pre-order. I'm calling it the Stone Rhino. Just it is what it is. It'd be cool if we actually saw more than just one new mech. But again, that requires them having, an artist as well. So, of course, and then we have the new maps. This is actually really exciting. I would like to see the recent Terra Therma removed. They have, again, remove a map. It isn't good content. To me, I look at it as, I can understand maybe Matt and Darren's hesitation of like, well, it's content. It's there. We don't want to remove it because some people. To me, I think the new Terra Therma Crucible is just a horrible map, and if anything, it dilutes the map pool. I should say that. Also, because of how selection works, you're voting on maps. There's been times where it's like, I don't want that map at all. So really, your choice is down to 3. So I'd rather them just remove that map entirely. And again, if we're getting 4 new maps, 1 coming in March, which is a new biome too, that's pretty dope. I'd rather them just take out of rotation with the knowing that it'll come back at a later time fixed up, if at all. So that's just my personal opinion on that. Rebrand, Legends. Again, now that we've talked about it, I can see how this ties into their monetization. That's what it is, guys. It's to sell us basically a new mech pack, if you will, with a battle pass semi-system. It's not really a battle pass. It's more of a as you use it, you'll unlock some freebies, basically. So it's not a battle pass system. It's a battle pass-like system. Understand where they're coming from. They need to make money, and this is a way to do it with low-hanging, not having to have a dedicated 3D modeler come up with a new chassis where you could just... Ernie, you okay? You okay? Sorry, my dog was having a dream. She was chasing stuff, chasing squirrels, bunny rabbits. This is basically I'm okay with it. The Legends doesn't bother me. I understand where they're coming from. You can call it whatever you can call it, but I think Legends with the idea of legendary mechs, it makes sense from a marketing PR standpoint. It really doesn't bother me. And again, if you don't want it, you don't have to. I think the only concern here is power creep. I think the Cauldron will do a good job, but also to keep in mind, these need to sail. And I wouldn't be surprised if they are a little bit powerful when it comes to that. It is what it is, as someone once told me. Outlier quirks, I think, can be really fun. I don't think it's necessarily has to do with power creep. I think that could be something fun. Again, you can, I don't know, have a Raven with ECM and call it, something unique, and it has like a boost to its ECM bubble or something. I don't know, stuff like that. So, it has to be unique, and it has to be worth it. Cauldron, keep doing hard work. Again, go back to that skill tree. Really wish they would make it so trial mechs have full skill tree selected out for them. It would make the lives of new players so much easier, especially throwing them into the game. New weapons. Again, the biggest news of this, I think they could spin it and brand it if they will, and they could call it a tech jump. I think that's smart. Now, with this, I will say I had a conversation recently with Navid, which is they could introduce IS Omnis if Navid and Cauldron looked at the relationship between IS XLs and survivability. There's nothing in the lore that states that, like ISXLs operate the way they do as far as MWO. It's a game rule, like, oh, you take 3 crits and you're out. That's not in lore as far as like if you read the novels, that's not how it works. But they could make those changes. So that's just one of those things where that conversation would be quite unique. Maybe I'll reach out about that. But this could be a rebranding, or no, this could be a tech jump as well, where they could just release over the course of 2023 new weapons as they progress, or they could just do it as a pack. I think it's more probable they release them as they get them, because, but again, they could tie it into a, not a dark age, but like a, ill clan sort of, era. But there's a lot of weapons, there's a lot of tech that they could reuse and make a part. It's just how much resources do they have, and is that plausible? I don't know. Faction play, I sort of stated in length here. I'd love to hear from you guys out there. And again, I want to make it clear, I'm not hating on you guys that love faction play. I know that there's something there for a lot of people. Some people do enjoy it. I would love to be addicted. I wanted to be addicted to faction play from the very, very beginning, but it wasn't there. So now the question is, what would you like to see PGI do? And if it's limited, and keep in mind, limited resources, I think if you guys go in and have too much, I think if you have a grandiose plan it's going to fail hard. So I just want to ask, what do you like about faction play? Is it siege mode or is it conquest with respawns or whatever? Let me know what you guys think. It's one of those things where, the discussion needs to happen out there. So Platinum X strategy, cool. Although this is marketing, it needs to happen. They need to get value here. I don't really, outside of that, I'm not really too concerned. Comp free. Again, loot bag events, please, for the love of God, make them auto collect or have a redeem all button, and also make it easier to find those. Again, going back to the end of this devlog. So overall, I mean, it's more, if you put this on a roadmap, this is more than what we got on the first roadmap that had to be redacted quite a bit. We're actually going to see if a lot of this comes to fruition, and this is where the rubber meets the road. PGI has now stated from Russ himself that he's giving them more resources. Matt and Darren are on the record saying, hey, this is happening. So now, let's see it through and see what happens in the future here if this is to happen. Obviously, I think we all just have to be very, very reasonable with where the game is in its state of life and moving forward. I'd love to have a discussion with community members about a successor to MWO. I think there is a desire from the community out there. So, but that's going to be a different thing. Anyways, that's my 2023 devlog review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did enjoy this conversation and my thoughts, make sure to click that like button, leave a comment down below of the subjects that we talked about. And I will do this again if they release another devlog. Go from there. So anyways, guys, just want to say thank you again. Hey, by the way, just want to toss this out there. If you haven't done so already, make sure to join on Discord. We have an amazing NGNG Discord. I'll have a link down below in the description. And again, when you join, make sure to read the rules to assign roles. So I have so many people that join and they don't assign, and so they don't see like the 50+ channels in there. And of course, I do stream over on Twitch. I'll have a link. My schedule is changing a little bit because of the little one. Kids, I guess, do that to you. So so pay attention on Discord. I post when I go live. But Wednesdays are going to be off for me from here for the foreseeable future. So just keep in mind. And just want to say thanks again for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoy this. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time.